Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our first NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 31 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. Big win for the Saints, 23-20 over the 49ers, and it was a big win on many levels. Stay unbeaten in the NFC, create 2 games distance between themselves and the 49ers head-to-head, stay a game behind Seattle, stay ahead of Carolina in their own race, and how they won the game, Lenny, to overcome mistakes which they always seem to make against San Francisco.
Well, the fact is San Francisco is a good team at doing those kind of things and causing mistakes. Now, some things were, unforced, if you will. Lance Moore muffing a punt. Corey White fumble into the end zone. It wasn't as if the ball was stripped. He was just trying to reach out. And Drew Brees trying to make a play, in a freelance situation, trying to get the ball over Ahmad Brooks' head to Jimmy Graham, and Brooks made a great play and knocked it up in the air and intercepted it. But, still in all, those are turnovers. And the fact of the matter is, when the Saints have committed at least 3 turnovers in a game, you go back here the last few years, they had lost 10 of 11 when committing 3 or more turnovers. So to win this kind of game with those kind of mistakes, to still prevail, that's huge.
No, it really was, and what I really liked about the game was that they overcame these things, but also the fact that they not only matched San Francisco physically, they really out-hit them in this game, and that is new when it comes to the Saints against the 49ers.
Well, this is a new regime on defense, basically, and we continue to be amazed week after week at what Rob Ryan has done in 1 year's time. We are still dealing with a lot of the same players that are 1 year removed from having the worst statistical defense in the history of the NFL, and in terms of yards, and look what's happened the last 2 weeks. The Saints have held Dallas and San Francisco to under 200 yards apiece. Saints defense hasn't done that in quite a long time, 13 years to be exact.
A lot of calls to point to in this game, obviously. Of course, the big one on the hit by Brooks on Brees, and by rule, it's a penalty. And if you read the rule, it's definitely a penalty. And it's unfortunate because it was not intentional. And the rules, of course, have been changed stringently. And the people that matter most, the Mike Pereiras, the Mike Florios, the ones that talk to league officials and league sources, all say the same thing. It was the right call. Whether you agree with it or not, it was the right call, but that's what the NFL is now.
Yeah, and I think as you look at it from a national landscape today, you're hearing the words controversial surrounding this win. Obviously, I don't think you're hearing those in New Orleans quite as much. It was probably like, geez, after the 49ers have gotten so many calls against the Saints all these years, it's about time one went the Saints' way. You remember a Jerry Rice fumble into the end zone that was called a touchdown, perhaps, but, so many times you've seen so many things happen in Saints-49ers games that have gone the other way. So, maybe this is, in its own small way, a little bit of a get-back.
Well, it's a controversial rule. It was not a controversial call. It was made decisively, immediately by Tony Corrente, and it was the right call, regardless of what people think, and that's just the way the game is played. By the way, there were other calls in the game that could have gone the other way as well. Intentional grounding on Brees. Was that intentional grounding? Certainly debatable. And then the one on Kaepernick in the end zone, which could have produced the winning points on a safety. It was inside the hash marks. Was there a receiver anywhere within distance? Maybe about 10 yards down the field. So calls were big in this game. Saints go to Atlanta, short week on Thursday. Better be ready to play. Records don't matter. Falcons want to wreck their season.
Absolutely. And you look at what happened a year ago. The Falcons were undefeated and rolling, came into New Orleans, a Saints team that was struggling, and the Saints knocked them from the ranks of the unbeatens. In fact, the Falcons were the last unbeaten team in the NFL at that point. But, you're right. This is you throw the records out the window when the Saints and the Falcons meet. A lot more time to talk about that if we get ready for Thursday.
A couple of quickies on Tulane LSU before we get to the Pelicans. Tulane off this past weekend. UTEP this coming week. They need to get back on track against a team, frankly, that they should beat.
They should. And, this is their chance to get to 7 wins. It's going to be tough to win the finale at Rice. That's a pretty good Rice team that is waiting for them a week from Saturday. So this is your best chance to get to 7 wins and clinch a winning season.
And a lot healthier after a week off, no question, including quarterback. Watch and see what Montana looks like this coming week. As for LSU, they've got Johnny Manziel coming to town, and that should be a shootout, barring any weather issues.
Yeah, and what do you say there? You got to defend him, and LSU probably did as good a job as anyone has done in the last 2 years of defending Johnny Manziel. A year ago in College Station, this is not the same LSU defense, obviously, but it's still John Chavis calling the shots, and it'll be interesting to see what he dials up this week to try to defend.
Well, the Pelicans coming off their most productive game offensively in a huge blowout win over Philadelphia on Friday night. Really well rested before they get a rematch with lowly Utah on Wednesday, who they blew a game to last week. And then they get Cleveland Friday night. As I said before this homestand, they needed to sweep this homestand. They're off to a good start to do just that.
And the biggest difference, Ryan Anderson coming back, I think that changes how teams have to defend the Pelicans. It makes for better rotations, so many aspects that it changes things. Yeah, you gave away 3 on the road last week against 3 teams. Any one of the 3 you were, at least on par with, but losing 3 there, here part of a 3-game homestand, you got a chance to get back to 500 this week.
Ready New Orleans Quarterback Club Luncheons, noon on Monday, sponsored by SportsNoah.com, where you'll find all the videos and a list of all the speakers each and every week. Barry Wilson of Holy Cross, Roland Barbay, former LSU star, Brian Miller of Tulane, and Fletcher Mackel of WDSU on the Saints. Speaking today, check it out at SportsNoah.com. It's Sports Noah TV at 6 p.m. this evening with Ricky Jackson, Torrance Small, Brian Alley Walsh, and yours truly. We'll talk about all of these things and more, obviously, and that's the start of another big week here on WHNO TV.
Absolutely. You got Prep Recruiting Insider on Wednesday. You've got the John Forcade Show coming your way on Thursday, leading right into Saints Falcons Thursday night. And also, don't forget, coming up later this week, special edition of college football. We've got the River Bell Classic. Southeastern, congratulations to the Lions. They're headed to the FCS playoffs for the first time. They're going to play for an outright championship Thursday night. We will have it for you on tape delay Friday afternoon and Saturday afternoon on WHNO TV 20 Southeastern against Nichols for the River Bell.
We sure look forward to it. It's going to be a great week. What a great accomplishment by the Lions. Lenny, as always, thank you very much.
We'll talk to you later this week.
That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 31 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area. That's First NBC Bank. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great week, and God bless you.